Hello again, citizens. It's time for episode number 13 of The Whole Truth for the week of 16 December 2013, the show where we already know Ender's Game because we read the book. Let's move on to the RSI website recap. More mouse pads are available. As of the recording of the show, there's about 500 left of each new style. There's a Drake mouse pad and a Misk mouse pad. These are the Goliath mouse pads with the Star Citizen art on them. Mine just came in. It's really nice, but it smells really funky at first. So give it some time to air out before you slap it on your desk. We also got a new galactic guide this week for the Centauri system. The Centauri system was one of the first systems humanity settled during the interstellar expansion period. The main attractions are 3 jump points and the third planet, Saisei. Having an imposed population cap as well as being terraformed and planned specifically for human habitation, Saisei stands as a jewel of human development. The Central Misk facility is also located on Saisei on the outskirts of Fujin City, which is also the main landing point for most visitors. This week we also get a new lore post called The Observist. In it we learn about Elysium, the home of humans from the First Interstellar War, and the site of the end of the Second Interstellar War. After the Second War, Elysium became known as Jalan. The post goes on to explain a little bit about this location, and it's a good read if you're interested in getting to know the setting of Star Citizen. A lot of people that purchased the LN upgrades during the anniversary have been looking for a way to apply them to their LX packages and get that cool Legionnaire in their hangars to stare at. Well, CIG has implemented a way to do that, and now you can. So get over there to your hangar on the website and apply those upgrades. A note from CIG, if you already have a standard upgrade and you would like to use it, please reclaim it for store credit and you should save $5 overall. We also got an update about multiple organizations. CIG says that it's necessary for the way the final game will function to allow players to join multiple organizations simultaneously. This includes in-game NPC organizations and player-made organizations as well. There will be a reputation system that will let you know how different organizations compare, and organizations will be able to set their exclusivity levels. An organization may require you to be allied with certain other groups or restrict you signing up with other organizations completely. As of the first iteration coming in January, though, you're only going to be able to sign up with one organization. I feel a management migraine coming on. Hangar patch number 9 was released, and we mostly saw bug fixes, but most importantly, this patch sets the stage to add in future updates and upgrades to the Hangar module. Also, a trophy case has been added, and if you have a golden ticket on your account, it will show up there as well as the Zeus model and the 2943 Gamescom trophy. Fish tanks also got a makeover, and another Hangar patch will be coming out before the end of the year, and they promise to give us more stuff to play with. Lore Builder number 8 is out. This one is all about Sata Ball. The final decision was a combination of Australian rules football and a made-up set of rules. Now we're on to fleshing out the story behind Sata Ball and the details of what everything's going to look like. There's a lot of pictures of design ideas on this one, but no voting this time, so if you'd like to see those pictures, go check it out. The community also requested some full resolution versions of some of the concept art using the post headers on the official site, and CIG delivered. 8 full resolution pictures for your enjoyment can now be found on a post on the site. Also, with only 3 weeks left, we got a video update for the next Great Starship competition. In the video, we get to meet one of the judges, Mark Skelton, who we've seen before. He's the art director for the game. He goes over some of what he's going to be looking for in the ship submissions. I cannot wait to see what people come up with for these submissions. It's going to be epic. And that's it this week for the website recap. Now it's time for the Wingman's Hangar recap. This week in the Hangar, we got the word from Ben that a new set of forum rules is being discussed to mostly target trolling and rules for moderators to keep things honest. Jason Spangler is on the show this week to explain client-side persistence. The Hangar patch this week was the first example of that. Client-side persistence allows you to do things like move stuff around in your hangar or change things on your ship, and it'll save those things for the next time you log in. That's about it for the random info from the Wingman's Hangar episode. Let's move on to the forum feedback recap. In forum feedback this week, we've got Eric, Rob, and Ben as usual. Why do some fighters have their guns located so far from their plane of symmetry? Rob answers, because it looks cool. Convergence is a big deal. Where you are shooting and how far ahead you're shooting is important. If they have your ship's guns right in the middle, they can't point at anything close. They have to point way out in front of you. If they're out further, they can converge at a point closer to you so they're more accurate. Just what does a Joker Sucker Punch distortion cannon do? Rob says, distortion cannons are different from lasers and other weapons in that they are intended to target the pipes on the ship rather than the actual equipment on the ship. So they reduce energy flow, increase heat, or whatever. In this case, they reduce energy. If we invent stuff, can we see it in the persistent universe? Ben says, yeah, part of our plan is if you create an amazing mod or some new ships that improve Star Citizen and you bring it to us and we say we want it in the persistent universe, we'll work out a way for that to happen. Eric then says, that's something that's important to us as we create the tools that make the game. We're keeping an eye on making those very moddable and mod friendly for people. We want you guys to help us create the game. There are some systems with looming cataclysmic events like Tyrrell going supernova. Will players be warned before something like this happens, or will they be blown to smithereens? Rob says, you figure if we've developed space travel, then anytime something like that is going to happen, all the scientists are going to say, I need a ride to Tyrrell right now. So when scientists start gathering, go the other direction. Ben says we're going to blow all of you up. What type of ammo will there be for guns? Big guns, small guns? Will there be different types of ammo? Rob says, yeah, the hard ammo weapons have a lot of different ammo types. We'll be telling you more about those later. Eric says you may get to play around with some of those ammo types very soon. Last week in episode 48, during the MVP portion, at the end you see a mini action figure of the Constellation. Is this the USB prototype model, or is CIG thinking about doing action figures? Ben says that is actually a prototype for the 12-inch model. That's what the higher packages are going to be receiving when the game ships. We're certainly thinking of making models like that available in the future. Star Citizen has the aspiration to be as realistic as possible while still focusing on good gameplay. Why is every alien race humanoid in form? Eric says that basically has to do with being able to pilot the ships. You got to be able to pilot the ships, get in the ships, and fly those things. So you need to be able to reach the controls. My ships get dirty, broken, maybe they blow off a wing or a tire pops. Is there going to be someone that I can hire and keep in my hangar to fix my ships like a mechanic? Ben says yes. In fact, some folks who backed early already have repair bots which are going to be showing up in the future, and they'll be around to help repair your ships, maybe even your Grey Cat buggy. Now we're moving on to 10 for the chairman. This is where Chris Roberts answers all of these questions. When the dogfighting module is released, do you need to own the ship you want to fly, or are you able to test all the ships which have already been made in the game? Chris says generally you should be able to fly the ships that you have in your hangar, although at first there may not be enough ships and everyone may get to fly the ships that are available. Will we be able to transfer subscreens from our cockpit to other monitors? Chris says we're looking at being able to do that with a tablet where you can put one of the VDUs from the cockpit on that. This won't be functional in the dogfighting module. Can NPCs fly on their own while you're online? Chris says if you're online, they're definitely doing their stuff. If you have logged out, the NPCs that work for you are not off running a business for you. You need to be online to have the NPCs doing their thing. Have you made a decision on whether to wait for the MMO backend to be finished or to push the dogfighting module early? Chris says, my preference is don't hack it. If you hack it, you do work you have to throw away later. Part of the whole idea of the dogfighting module is to get it out there so we can test the MMO back in. It's not really that useful if we throw it out there without a back end that's final. I'm leaning on doing things the proper way. What is the difference between TR1, TR2, TR3, etc., and is there much difference between their levels? Chris says the thruster rating is the power band. Not all TR1s are the same. Some are overclocked, some are higher or lower grade by different manufacturers, but you're pretty much guaranteed that going from TR1 to TR2, the TR2 will be at a higher band. Going from tier to tier is not always a linear progression either. A TR6 could be double the size of a TR5, for example. How close will the flight and combat model that we get in December be to the intended finished product? Will the envelope of what we can do basically be set in stone, or more of a rough first version that will be getting tons of refinement and tweaks to the flight model as we go? Chris says, nothing's really going to be set in stone. The whole point of getting it out there is to test a bunch of things. It's going to be our best guess as to what's fun, and we'll refine it from there. The first dogfighting module is not going to have all the features and functionality, and it will grow over the next year. What would you say to people who are concerned that there's no point in getting ships like the Caterpillar or the Retaliator because the Constellation looks like it's going to be the best ship to have? Chris says that's silly because I don't think there is a best ship in the game. They're all going to have different pros and cons. We're deliberately designing things so that there is no best ship. Bigger ships are cool because you can have multiple people on them, but they can't turn as fast or be as maneuverable as a smaller ship. There may be best ships for particular roles, but not overall. How will entering dogfighting be handled? Will you start your ship in a hangar or in an arena or spawn magically in space? Chris says you start in your hangar, you'll be able to adjust your loadout on the holotable, then you'll climb into your ship, fire it up, and the hangar in holodeck style disappears and you're in space, but it's really a holodeck version of space. Then when you finish it, you come back into the hangar. How detailed will damage modeling be? Will angle of impact be taken into account when calculating armor penetration, with sloped armor having a chance to deflect shots? Chris says, Damage modeling is very detailed, and that's one of the problems with getting the dogfighting module ready. Angle of incidence of a projectile hitting armor of a ship will count in terms of damage and penetration ability. Underneath it all, it's physically correctly modeled. So if you have a life support inside of your ship, we actually have a physical space for that, and if a projectile penetrates through the shield and armor and hits that system, it can damage it. What sorts of challenges has optimizing netcode for combat in true 3D space with 6 degrees of freedom presented? Are the issues presented by packet loss and high latency roughly comparable to a first-person shooter, or are you expecting this game to be more latency dependent? Chris says, high latency affects everything. Ships are heavy data-wise and have a lot of moving parts, so packet loss could be an issue. That's the stuff we want to be working on and testing out, and that's part of what the dogfighting module is about. There are advantages to the space sim part of Star Citizens in terms of multiplayer compared to on-foot FPS though, even though we do have on-foot FPS. When you're on foot and FPS, you can move in any direction, so it's hard to predict, whereas in a ship, you have to turn. In spaceships, you can do a much better job of predicting where the player's ship is going to be because of the time it takes to turn. That's the end of the forum feedback for this week. Here's Ben's MVP. This week, the official forum's MVP went to iTorba for his post, Why Star Citizen is the Willy Wonka Plot and We're the Children. This is a pretty interesting look at the Star Citizen project as a whole and how we've interacted with it. It's pretty funny to see Chris as Willy Wonka too. Moving on to other news. In other news this week, community member Nicole D'Angelo, also known as Batgirl, recorded an interview with Ben Lesnick. I'll have a link for you guys to check that out. They go over some of Ben's personal history and a little bit of nostalgia. Also in other news this week, there's another Kickstarter up for another space game. This time, it's called Space Trucker, and it's exactly what you think, trucking in space. Now, I love the idea of space trucking, but in my opinion, this Kickstarter is the antithesis of what Star Citizen has done and exemplifies everything that's wrong with crowdfunded projects. We have the typical criteria met here for a bad Kickstarter game. We've got a shoddy video of a guy talking in the corner of an echoey room, claims of all the amazing AAA games that someone on the team has worked on, a claim of over a century combined in the game-making industry. That's a new one. And a severe lack of any display of work that's already been done. What we get is 1 or 2 concept art pictures that don't look all that great, a bunch of backer levels that offer things they're copying from other big games like special ID cards for backers, and a promise that if we fully back this thing for a whopping $300,000, we'll get a game of some kind eventually maybe. This is everything that's wrong with these kind of projects. Will this game be any good? I don't know, maybe, but I personally won't back it early because it's a development company asking us for $300,000 with no real references or anything to show except a poorly recorded pitch for a business idea. I thought that's what banks were for. So I'm putting a link down below. You can check it out and decide for yourself. Now that that little rant is over, let's move on to the r/Star Citizen post of the week. This week, the post of the week goes to Basura for pointing out a good thread on the RSI official forums entitled Star Citizen, How Far We've Come. This is an awesome post that recollects the first year of development for the game, and I suggest everyone go and have a look at it. Thanks Basura for pointing it out, and thanks to Topset Mike on the official forums for putting it together. Alright, so last week I opened up a giveaway for our Romantics community of viewers, people that support me here on YouTube and also on Twitch TV. The response in both places has been amazing. We got partnered on Twitch last week and then received our subscriber button this week, followed by our first 1,000 plus viewer stream where we hit 1,237 simultaneous viewers. The entire week has been awesome and we met a lot of new people. The community is growing and I'm very excited about that. So thank you everyone. I love meeting you guys and hanging out with you folks over at Twitch too, and just being a part of this awesome community. So here's the announcement. The winner of the M50 LTI package is Sean Pullman. Sean, congratulations. I'll be contacting you via email to send you the ship. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you here next Monday on The Whole Truth. Goodbye.